The first few nights were strange but not terrifying. I would wake up for no reason in the middle of the night, feeling a vague sense of discomfort. It was like those moments when you wake up unexpectedly and can't figure out why. The room was silent, disturbed only by the sound of the wind outside the window. I couldn't see anything, but the feeling of unease was growing. I tried to dismiss it as stress or fatigue. I've been overworking, I thought. But on the third night, something changed. I woke up again, and this time my heart clenched with inexplicable fear. The room was dark, with only faint moonlight filtering through the curtains, and that's when I saw him. In the corner of the room, across from my bed, stood a figure, black, motionless, as if carved from the shadows of the night. My breathing quickened. At first I thought it might be my coat or bag left on a chair, but it was too tall, too wrong. I froze. My heart started pounding furiously. It's just a shadow, I tried to convince myself. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and decided morning would clear everything up. But even with my eyes closed, I could feel him there. In the morning, I tried to forget what I had seen. I convinced myself it was just an illusion brought on by exhaustion. Maybe I had imagined it, but each time the fear grew stronger. On the fourth night, I deliberately left the light on. I thought that would help. Light was supposed to chase away the darkness, and with it, my nocturnal visions. But even with the light, he was there. I opened my eyes closer to 3 a.m. and saw him again. This time, he stood even closer. His figure was just as tall, but now it seemed he was leaning slightly forward, as if trying to get a better look at me. My breathing became shallow. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't. I wanted to get up, but my body felt glued to the bed. And then I heard it. A faint rustle, as if someone barely moved. Now every night I waited for him to appear. The waiting became torture. I lay in bed with only one thought: he's coming. And he came. Every time he was closer. At first he just stood in the corner. Then I began to hear his footsteps. They were slow but heavy, as though the floorboards were bending under his weight. Step, then another. I shut my eyes, but that only made it worse. I could feel his presence with my whole body. I tried telling my friends about it, but no one believed me. You're just tired, they said. It's stress, others added. But I knew it was real. On the sixth night he spoke. The whisper was barely audible, as if coming from another world. His words were fragmented, but I made out a few. You see me. I screamed and covered my ears, but the sound kept echoing in my head. The light in the room wasn't enough. I turned on my desk lamp, my phone's flashlight, anything I could find. It seemed to help. For a while he was gone. But when I lay down again, I felt the cold. The air grew heavy, as though something was draining all the warmth from the room. And that's when I realized he was still there. I could no longer sleep in my room. On the seventh night, I decided to stay on the couch in the living room. The light there was brighter, and I felt safer. But even that didn't help. Around midnight, I began to drift off. My sleep was restless and fragmented, and then I felt him again. When I opened my eyes, I saw him. This time, he stood by the living room window, right behind the glass. His outline was sharp, as though he had stepped out of the shadows to watch me. I ran back to my room, slamming the door shut. For a moment, I felt safe. But when night fell again, he returned. I decided to record everything on camera. I set up my phone on a tripod, aiming it at the corner of the room where he always appeared. When the clock struck 3, I heard his footsteps again. The figure appeared in the corner. At first it was blurry, but over time it grew more defined. I watched the phone's screen, trying to convince myself it wasn't real. And then his eyes began to glow red. The phone started glitching. The screen dimmed, and the recording cut off. I rushed to grab the device, but its battery was completely drained, even though I had charged it to 100% before bed. On the last night, I refused to sleep. I sat on my bed, trembling, clutching a flashlight in my hands. He appeared later than usual, but I already knew he would come. This time, he stood at the very edge of my bed. "Why?" I whispered, barely daring to lift my head. His whisper grew louder. It was no longer fragmented. "You came to me. Now you will stay." And then he reached out his hand. Long, thin, pale, it stretched toward my face. I wanted to scream, but a lump caught in my throat. My eyes locked on his glowing red eyes, which grew brighter as though they were igniting. At that moment, I felt something cold touch my cheek, and I lost consciousness. I woke up in the morning, lying on the floor. Everything in the room looked as it always did, but the sense of dread hadn't left me. I checked the recording on my phone. It showed me tossing and turning in bed. Then at 3 o'clock, the figure appeared in the corner. But just as it began to approach, the recording abruptly ended. Now I can't sleep. Every night he comes closer, and one day I know he will take me.